I think the business potential between India and UK is very strong. I think the potential is high. We can develop a lot more. I think that's a very positive side which must be looked at from both sides. It has to be done at the government level, and I think it has to be done at the business level. Large companies normally find the way about. You know, they take their decisions based on what is the sort of learnings they can get through their own corporate inputs. But I think where both governments and business associations like ours have to work much stronger is getting the SME sector more involved with each other. I think this is where the scope and potential for business collaboration down the line is a lot more than where we are today.
Indian companies make a phenomenal contribution to the British economy. We have Indian companies across a range of key sectors. Overall, I think they've helped to reboot Britain's manufacturing industry and our national export effort.
There is an enormous market for British companies, but also British companies to collaborate in India in just about every sector, whether it's in manufacturing, whether it's in infrastructure, whether it's in services. There is potential, I believe, in just about every field.
Well, there are many areas in which I think the strengths of the UK and India are complementary. And there's an incredibly rich sort of tapestry of personal relationships, friendships, contacts, history between the two countries, which we can build on.
We have a very strong relationship between India and UK from historical times. I think the relationship is very strong. I think what we're looking for, of course, is to build on the relationships that are already bedded in there. And the great strength, of course, is that we do have a very, very strong diaspora here that can help that process.
There's a very healthy balance between Indian companies coming in as subsidiaries and then also acquiring British companies. I think the health of that balance is that people are in no way concerned about Indian companies in the UK. They are indigenous to our community. They are integrated with our culture and our economic ecosystem.
London being the center, particularly in terms of the center for finance and various other legal services, it is a very, very important center for SR Global Fund in terms of looking at various opportunities, number one. Number two, at actually concluding transactions. And number three, in terms of attracting capital.
There is a lot of cultural and linguistic affinity with India, so it is easy to penetrate the UK. English common law is well understood, that helps as well. The availability of global talent is very important. Transport links between the UK and India are very strong. So I believe that Indian companies who are looking at global growth, especially European growth, should consider London and the UK as their entry point and as their base from which to grow.
London's a great design city. It has some of the best design talent in the world, and it has a great corridor that connects us to India, which helps us really inspire and work with India.
Well, we started our business first in the UK, and it was a natural place to choose. It's the largest IT market, and of course the language and the culture made a big difference.
I think you have a lot of opportunities. The culture is good. You don't feel you're living in UK, you always feel you're living in, especially in London, you feel you're living in India because it's the best of both the worlds, India and UK. J.R.D. Tata, who was the pioneer of the aviation in India and the founder of Air India, they felt that yes, UK has to be a gateway, and that's why they thought probably UK is where you have to have a flight, and that's how he started 65 years before.
It was very natural to come to the UK at that time, the home of the Industrial Revolution, a country obviously with very strong links to India.
It's where we started. Our first branches, opened in 1858, were first in Calcutta and second in Shanghai. So India has always been a very, very big part of this bank.
Most importantly, if you're looking at running a company in the UK, I think it's very important that you work with a local team. Don't bring in a team from India. because the UK laws are very different, the UK labour laws are very different, UK safety laws in factories are very different, and it's very important to understand these from a local perspective.
Given the fact that there is a certain amount of skill set which resides in this country, both on the services side as well as on the refining side, so we have quite an active policy of actually not to bring Indian professionals into United Kingdom, but to actually use the local talent in that respect.
To be a global player, you have to be close to the customers, you have to have different brands, and there was an opportunity where Brunton Shaw was owned by another PLC for whom it was non-core. It was actually very core for Usha Martin.
So ITC Infotech believes it can be a partner of choice for large and mid-sized companies. I call it the AAA rating. Agility, being able to adapt and being able to align.
Jaguar Land Rover's Education Business Partnership Centres, and they're designed to enthuse young people from primary school age right through school about engineering, to link engineering to the national curriculum in the STEM subjects, show that it's an exciting thing to do, and to help young people in that path through to studying engineering and, we hope, working in engineering.
Our ethos is to invest and be an integral part of the fabric of the markets we work in, and we're doing this across multiple dimensions. First of all, we hire people locally in the UK, and we believe in building that talent.
And as a company, we do sponsor people to get HNC degrees and various engineering degrees, if they're working with us. Especially if there's a craft apprentice, he's worked with us on the shop floor, then we help him get various degrees.
One of the areas which we have worked on or are working in is the former mining areas. So there's a lot of regeneration taking place there, and our ability to help train people into new skills is in a way creating employment.
We have supported a lot UK arts and culture also in different ways. Like recently we were nominated as one of the finalists for an award in Wales.
We've now got something in the region of 55,000 people in the UK in businesses from Jaguar Land Rover and Tata Steel, through Tetley Tea, through Tata Consultancy Services.
ITC Infotech itself has about 300 people on site, about 6,000 offshore, and rapidly growing.
In the UK, we employ in two segments. One is on the corporate side. In London, we employ about 60 people today, based out of Berkeley Square. And then we have about 1,000 employees in Port Ellesmere at Stanlow, which is the refinery we purchased in 2010.
Infosys has about 3,000 people across the UK, of which about 600 people sit here in Canary Wharf. Canary Wharf is our European headquarters. We also have about 10 to 11,000 people in other parts of the world who service UK customers.
We employ a little bit more than 380 people. About 200 plus people at the site here in Colford, and about 65 odd people in the site at Reading, which is our corporate office.
And in the UK and in Europe, we have 300 people on site. We have about 6,000 people offshore. And what is most interesting is that 45% of ITC Infotech's business is actually Europe-based, and 50% of that is UK.
I came to the UK as a student from India in the early 80s, and the transformation in both countries in these 3 decades is phenomenal. The UK, which was the sick man of Europe 30 years ago, today is one of the leading and fastest growing economies in the developed world. India, which was a closed and insular economy in the 80s, today is a global emerging economic superpower.
Going in sectors, I come from the Department of Energy and Climate Change. I think there is huge opportunity within that sector because it ranges from so many different aspects of the energy sector.
Looking at India's growth curve in terms of energy demand, we believe it's one of the most interesting investments and will continue to thrive. So we will continue to look at that opportunity very vigorously.
You only have to look at the demographics of India and the growth in consumer demand to see the enormous potential for financial services in the country?
Growth with companies along three lines. There are clearly many companies that are looking at driving innovation through their businesses as the economy improves, and we believe we have a key part to play.
You know, we have already outlined an expansion program, and this program is mainly to expand this site here, the current site, which is a couple million pounds, and we're also acquiring the adjacent industrial site, which we are very far in the process of acquiring currently.
We remain very interested in doing business in the UK and strengthening that commitment, and it's certainly very much a part of my job here at Tata Limited to be looking out for those new opportunities.
This is actually quite an exciting market for us. The business has grown significantly in the last 10 years, and we look to extend this to other parts of the world.
Indian-British business collaboration focuses around value added. It's a truism sometimes, but it's really true in this case. The value added of advanced manufacturing, of technology, of our creative industries, of consumer-facing sectors. Indian businesses and British businesses are collaborating with the middle classes of both of our countries to offer the branded goods and services as an Anglo-Indian collaboration.
And the future looks indeed very, very strong and bright. And I see more and more India and UK business relationship reaching new heights of growth, moving from strength to strength on various areas. And I think it will be both bilateral trade, bilateral investments, looking into the two economies in terms of more exchanges in several areas like education, training, etc. So it's a great future ahead.